Okay, so yesterday I finished reading Mistborn, The Final Empire. And short version, I fucking loved it. I had a ton of fun reading it. I pre-ordered, this has been out for a long time. I ordered the trilogy a couple days ago on Prime Day, and it will be arriving tomorrow. So I don't know if I'll actually be able to start reading it tomorrow because Saturday tends to be pretty busy. But hopefully, at least like Saturday night or Sunday, I can start The Well of Ascension. Long version of my thoughts, well, we're about to get into that. So, sorry, brain stop for a second. The way I got into Mistborn was, I believe I was watching a video about Brandon Sanderson giving some like writing tips, and he was like referring to his Mistborn series. And I remember hearing, I was like, this is a fantasy heist novel? Well, this sounds fucking cool. It's like, yeah, like I love fantasy shit. I love magic. I love cool magic systems. Quick pin in that because I fucking love Alamancy. But I love heists. The things I love about heists is I love the planning. I don't know what it is, but that shit gets me super hyped. Like, we did a heist in our Pathfinder campaign. It was either the end of last year or the start of this year. And it was so fun. Just the planning. And like a good heist, there were parts where shit went wrong. It was like, oh, that's bad. This shouldn't have happened. Now we're fucked and having to adapt on the fly. And by the end, everything worked swimmingly and we all ended up super rich afterwards. It was amazing. It was great. I love that shit. I love when it's like, all right, this is what we're going to do. Here's the plan. You do this, blah, 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 blah. And you just have a bunch of really competent people sitting in a room. They tend to have good chemistry together. They tend to know how to get on each other's nerves, talk good shit, but still be friends. And then you get to see them being hyper competent. Like, there's definitely a good few scenes of that in Mistborn. One of my favorites is the recruiting session when Vin is trying to learn soothing from Breeze. That is a really cool fucking scene. I absolutely love it. Excuse me. So I learned about this thing, fantasy heist novels. Like, that sounds really cool. I'm just kind of going to file that away. I guess in a sense, I'm going to put a pin in that. And hopefully I'll get to it soon. I believe this was last year when this happened. So this year, Clay was trying to get not getting into audiobooks, as he's been doing that for a while. He's like, I don't know what my next project is going to be. I was like, hey, I've heard of Mistborn. Are you interested in that? That might be really cool. So he got it, and on our trip down to Texas to go to the Japanese store, which was April, I think it was like around Easter weekend, we started listening to it. And I was like, fuck, this is really cool. Like, okay, I am for sure going to read this at some point this year. I don't know when I will get to it. I know I'm going to put it on the list. There we go. And my plan was at some point, I don't exactly know when, like next time I don't go, yeah. Tongue-tied. Next time I go to Barnes & Noble, I will try to pick up a copy of the first book. When or maybe like next time I go to the library. I haven't been to the library in like a really long time, except for just print shit. But I live right across the street from it, so there's no excuse. I can just go to the library and get a copy. And then one day Clay's like, yeah, like I was at Barnes & Noble and I bought some shit and I bought a copy of Mistborn. I'm like, cool, are you going to be reading it yet? Nah, it'll probably be a while. Cool, can I borrow it? And so I spent the past two and a half, week and a half, ish, somewhere around there, reading the novel. And yeah, like I said, this is not going to be like a real analysis of the novel, like getting super in-depth with the characters or the themes. It's just, these are the things that really stuck out to me as things that I liked or things I thought were done well. And then talking about some major spoilers. So the more kind of non-spoilery shit. Like I said, it's a fucking heist novel. And I love that. I love the planning. I love seeing people who are really good and competent show off how really good and competent they are and just be smooth as fuck about it. I love how, as a heist, there are things that go very, very wrong and the crew has to adapt to it. And there are some instances, one of which a lot of these I'm going to talk about when I just talk about full spoilers. Like, this is the bad thing, this is how they adapted. This is the bad thing, but this is how it kind of worked out. There's one where it's like, in true grand heist fashion, as bad as this was planned. This was a key, like, I remember I don't remember the specifics, but I know there's some parts in Ocean's 11 where like, oh, that's fucking bad. Oh, never mind. I guess this all kind of worked out. Like, I love that shit, man. So as I know I've said in other videos, particularly in Ruby Gilman, Teenage Kraken, I love gossip. I love, like, Mean Girls. Okay, Mean Girls is genuinely one of my favorite movies. I think it's fucking hilarious. But all of that, like, cliquey, gossipy bullshit, I eat it up. I love that shit. So all of the party scenes, I had so much fun. Like, what I tried to do was, like, all right, I want to read at least, like, 2 chapters a day. And there were a few days where I just didn't get any reading done. So it's like, okay, I have to make up for it. And then other times it's like, yeah, let me do 2 chapters a day. I done my 2. Oh, fuck, we're at a party scene now. I have to read the party chapter. And I read the party chapter. I'm like, but this next chapter looks like it'd be dope as hell. Let me keep going. And that's how you know a book's got you. Like, when you're just having a good time. You're like, I've hit my quota, but I can keep going. But I loved that shit. All, like, the pretty decorations, like, all the stained glass. I really actually like that. Just like, yeah, here's the depictions of, like, the Lord Ruler and his ascension told through stained glass. I really love that kind of shit. The relationship between Vin and Elend, I enjoyed it. I can understand there being criticism of, this is Vin, she's a very untrusting person. She maybe falls for him a little too quickly. Like, I can see that, but for me, I'm like, it's the girl's first love. Like, I'll let her have this, especially because her time with Kel and the crew has definitely just made her more trusting. And you can see the more she attends the balls, the more she almost gets seduced by all the glitz and the glam. And again, like how the veneer of niceness and sociability, I feel like it's like, yeah, I can see her falling for that because this is a completely new experience and it's way better than the shit she had growing up on the streets. I guess in a sense, the balls themselves are soothing her, to put it one way. But I liked that shit a lot. Let me take that real quick pin out from earlier. Allomancy's really, really fucking cool. I love it. I think what I love about it is it's something it's very simple and easy to explain. This is pewter. You eat pewter, it gives you a very specific power. I guess it gives you a very specific effect if you have the power to use it. This is tin. You can eat it, and it gives you a very specific effect if you have the power to use it. Here's the metals, like, here's the main 8 metals. I probably can't name them off the top of my head, but let's see if I can. Steel and iron, zinc and brass, copper, bronze, pewter, tin. No, I guess I did name them all. Wait, that was easier than I thought it would be. And they all have specific effects, and they also have kind of like twin effects. One, like iron and steel, one pushes metal, one pulls metal. Like, one almost kind of pulls metal to you. I think it kind of depends on, like, the situation, like the weight of it, like the pushing and pulling. It's like, if something's heavy enough, you'll go to it, but if it's light enough, it'll go to you. But it goes straight to you. Like, you can't flip it around, or if you do, it's essentially because, like, you moved it toward you, and then you started pushing it, and then, like, you adjusted yourself to do it. I really like that shit. Like, I think what I like about it is, like I said, it's very simple to understand, but in its applications, it can be super varied and pretty adaptable. It's like, this is how it works, but if you know what you're doing, you can really maximize what you're doing with it. And also, there's 2 types of ways you have power. And I guess other ways, because there are other types of... What the fuck? No, sir, there's just like this... Okay, I don't know if you can see it. Is that... It looks like it's a mosquito, but it's like kind of orange or like coppery. Is that a shiny mosquito? What the fuck? Anyways, back to Mistborn. Is a Misting is a person that can use one of those powers. A Mistborn is someone who can use all of them. Because I do kind of like that. It's like, all right, you either have no magical power, you have 1 magical power, or you just have all of them. If you got 2, you got 8. And then there's more than 8, because there's others that they reveal later. There might be a lot more than that in the other books. I don't know. I'm pretty sure there's other kinds of metals out there. But remember, I was really hoping at some point I was going to see someone burn mercury. Be like, what the fuck does that do? But, which is another thing they do say. It's like, yeah, not every metal is burnable. And if you ingest a metal that you can't burn, well, then you just ate metal that you can't get rid of. You're going to be fucking sick, if not worse. And if you try to, burn a metal that isn't pure, you might still kind of get the effect you want, but it's also going to make you really sick. Like, I like that. Allomancy is powerful, but it is not omnipotent. There are very specific things you can and can't do with each individual power. And there's something that's kind of repeated a couple of times. It's, we are not invincible. Vin and Kelsey are both Mistborn. They are both incredibly powerful, incredibly adaptable. They are not invincible. As they learn in one series, like, oh, we barely got out of that shit alive. Note to self, don't do that again. I guess that's kind of a transition to the other thing I want to talk about without going into spoilers, is I did really like the cast. Like the minor characters like Breeze and Ham and them, it's like, I enjoyed them. I actually really liked their interactions a lot. I don't know how you pronounce the name of the terrorism. Is it Sazed? I'm just gonna call him Sazed. I liked him a lot too. Like reading the logbook and the Lord Ruler's thoughts, I thought that shit was really interesting. It was super interesting, actually. It was one of my favorite elements of the novel. But of course, it all comes back to Kelsier and Vin, your 2 protagonists of the story, and I loved them both. I like how they're kind of foils of each other. You've got Kelsier, who's super charismatic, he's always smiling, he's always cracking a joke. He seems like he's the happiest dude in the world, and inside he is super jaded. And I know they kind of say it a few times. It's like, the reason he's always joking, the reason he's always smiling is because of how depressed he is, and it's how shitty his life is, and just how shitty everyone's life is in the Final Empire. It's like, yeah, you gotta find joy wherever you can take it. And that's why I'm always cracking a joke, to try to get a little bit of enjoyment out of it, and to try to give it to someone else. That's why I'm always smiling, because I want to, like, raise people's spirits. You don't have to be a soother to know how to make someone happy. And on the other side of that, you have Vin. Excuse me, someone who's very distrustful. Someone who is just like, I want to hide in a corner. I want no one to see me. I want no one to bother me. But on the inside, it's like, once she actually starts to get to know the crew better and starts going to the parties, you do get that genuine sense of optimism. Like, she's a lot more hopeful than Kelsier is. At least that's kind of how I saw it. And I like how each of them gets a scene where they kind of call the other out, where she's like, Kelsier, I know why you hate noblemen, but you're kind of not better than them. Like, okay, like, you're better than them, but you don't really know what it is like to be a regular ska. You don't know what it's like to be working on a plantation, or to be in a thieving crew. Like, you don't know how really bad it is. Like, you see it, but you haven't truly lived it. Excuse me. And also, calling him out on the fact, like, yeah, with how eager you are to kill noblemen, you're kind of the same thing that they are toward the ska. Like, you just don't regard their lives with any value, and that's a problem. And a scene, and then I really like their conversation afterwards, where he's like, you're not entirely wrong. I appreciate that you were able to call me out, but I can also tell that there's something else. What's up? And then there's scene later where it's, okay, so I really can't say much about the context of the scene because it's very spoilery. But, some shit is happening. It's a heist. Shit is going wrong. And some people are about to get fucked up. Kelsier wants to go save them, and Vin is saying, no, we can't. It's dangerous. We got to let it happen. And I remember Kel just turning on her and saying something along the lines of, you still have a lot to learn about friendship. And I sincerely hope you were able to learn that. And it just, like, kind of cut her to the quick. She's like, ow. I mean, he's not wrong. But, like, Damn. And I really like that. I enjoyed both characters a lot. I enjoyed their interactions with each other. I enjoyed their interactions with the other cast. I do have to, okay, so I did shout out some of the characters. I have to give a shout out to Marsh. Marsh does not get a lot of screen time, but for me, it's not necessarily that he steals every scene that he's in, but I feel like he is able to maximize his screen time. Like, he left a very, very good impression on me by the time the novel was done. So overall, I pretty much loved everything about it. I had a ton of fun. From what I understand, it's the kind of novel where if you just want to leave it at that, you're going to be completely satisfied. Because it does feel like a standalone novel with room to explore other shit. And from what I understand, it's like, yeah, the sequels do that. They're sequels, we should hope so. And that they're just as good, if not better. Now, of course, I will be the judge of that. If I like what we do, if I like what happens in the sequels, or if I'm like, nah, I would have been happy with just the Final Empire, we will see. But I'm very, very much looking forward to it. I would highly recommend at least the first book. So with all that being said, quick countdown before spoilers. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So, like I said several times, it's a heist. Things go poorly and the crew has to adapt. And other times, at least one very specific time, the thing that went super poorly was planned. So I kind of want to give a list. This might not be everything, but it's a lot of things that really stuck out to me. So, their fucking army gets slaughtered really early because those guys got a bit too big for their britches. They're like, hey, let's go ahead and start some shit because we have a lot of confidence. And yeah, it didn't fucking work, idiots. And I remember that they're like, so we lost our army, the majority of it. That's really bad for the plan. Also, that's a lot of good men that died. That's heartbreaking. That's devastating. Like, the guy that hired us to do this was one of them. He's the one who led the charge. He's fucking dead. There's not really a job anymore. And even if we continue, one of our big cogs is gone. What do we want to do? Well, and I kind of realized this too. I was like, okay, we're in a really bad situation. But they specifically said that most of the soldiers in the city, most of the garrison, were sent out to take care of that. And one of the real big things he wanted was to cause a disturbance to get the garrison out of the city. So things are going as planned. And I think Kelsey's like, we did get them out of the city, so plan's still going. Like, okay, really bad, but adapting. It kind of worked out. And then you've got, like, Vin's double life, like, being compromised, of being the lady. Is it Valette? Is it supposed to be pronounced Valet? I don't know, but I just read it as Valette. Like, that's being compromised. People now kind of know that there's something really off, really suspicious about her. This is bad. She's not going to be as useful as an informant. Also, that same chapter, she fights Shan and fucking kills a full-born Mistborn. Which, super badass. Like, good fucking job, Vin. That's an important person to get rid of, because an enemy Mistborn is always an important person to get rid of. But also, hey, you just killed a very important, influential person, and their body was left on someone else's property that they were also going to try and assassinate. And we are trying to really inflame a house war, and we've been doing a great job of that. This is now, like, there's no going back from this. So, yeah, it sucks that we can't really use you to gather information anymore, but holy shit, like, the house war is basically in full effect at this point. There is a part where Marsh dies. Like I said, full spoilers, we're going to be talking about this shit. And that's Kelsier's brother, and he is heartbroken. It's not even that he's heartbroken. He's just angry, and he's like, okay, I'll be back. I might be off for a couple days. We'll see. I'll be back. So in his rage, he goes back to the pits, which this is where he came from. Not where he came from. It's only for like a few years, maybe less. He's like, he is known as the survivor of the pits. What is that? The pits of Hasynth, no, whatever. I'm just going to say the pits. This is where the ATM comes from. This is one of the most valuable metals. This is one of, like, the rarest metals. He's like, okay, this is it. That's super fucking powerful. This is a major, cog in the economy. And now that you've killed my brother, you took something from me, I'm going to take something from you, Emperor, Lord Ruler. So he goes and he just breaks everything in a way that, again, like with Allomancy, the way they explain it makes perfect sense to me. But like, yeah, they took away my brother. They took away something I couldn't live without. So fuck them. I did the same shit to them. Like, okay, sucks that we lost Marsh. We also just completely destabilized the entire economy. They don't know it yet, but we do. Okay, like that's less of an we adapted, or it's like we turned this into a positive, but it led to this, so we'll take it. And then also, as you find out in the end of the novel, Marsh didn't fucking die. He became a Steel Inquisitor. We're just like, oh, like we thought we lost him, but instead, he just got deeper in as a spy and learned the way to kill these seemingly immortal fuckers. So, hell yeah, brother. Again, Marsh is fucking cool. And of course, yeah, sorry, I was trying to make sure I read my own writing there. And of course, the biggest, which to me is like the ultimate heist novel move, Kelsier fucking dies. He is murdered by the Lord Ruler in full public of everybody. And that turns him into a martyr. And now that their survivor, their leader, like what does he call himself? Like the Lord of the Mists and all that shit. Now that he's gone, instead of it having the effect of the people going, we lost him, we're fucked, this is now for him. And that was his plan. And it's like, that is some heist novel bullshit, and no one else knew. Okay, not no one else, because I think Renault knew. I don't remember if Cezd knew, too. I think it was like he kind of had an inkling, but he wasn't for sure. Like, this is the last part of my plan, and I can't tell my friends, because they're not gonna agree to it. They're gonna fucking say no. But it's what needs to happen. And I need to talk about that scene. Kelsier's death is not only his death scene, it is also the first introduction of the Lord Ruler. There's a scene earlier where I thought he was going to appear, like his carriage shows up, if I remember. It's like this all black carriage, and it's carried by like these two stark white horses, and they just feel his power and his presence. You're like, okay, is he gonna step out of the carriage? Like, are we actually gonna see the fucker? No, okay. But that was still pretty cool. So when he properly appears, like there's an execution, this is when Kelsier's like, I have to stop this execution. Vin's like, we kind of can't. We're going to get fucked. You have some things you need to learn about friendship. I have to go do this. So he does it, and he's doing really well. He's saving a lot of people. Not everyone makes it. He kills an Inquisitor, which is the first time anyone had ever done that. And then the Lord Ruler shows up. And he gets out of his carriage, and he just starts walking to Kelsier. A random Ska picks up a spear, and it's like, for my wife, or something like that. He runs, he stabs him. And the Lord Ruler just keeps walking. Doesn't break stride, doesn't even look at the dude. And the dude, like, surprised, picks up another spear, stabs him again. Lord Ruler just keeps walking. And then I think that specific dude, like, got killed by some guards. He just walks up, looks at the Inquisitor body, like, you know those are really hard to replace. Looks at Kelsier. Haven't I killed you before? Like, I don't remember exactly what the dialogue is, but, like, the way I imagine it, like, he just sounds so nonchalant, and, like, I imagine his voice is very quiet, like, it's very wispy like air. Like, he doesn't even really give a shit. He's like, yeah, I mean, it's kind of sucks to lose those, but it is what it is. Like, oh, I think I've seen you before. Didn't I kill you? Huh. And he walks up to Kelsier, and he backhands him so hard that Kelsier's face, like, explodes. And he falls down, and then the Lord Ruler takes one of the spears out of his body, stabs it into Kelsier's chest, turns around, just kind of orders his soldiers, yeah, kill everybody, and then just leaves. That, to me, is one of the hardest villain entrances I think I've ever seen. shows up. And, like, it feels like a crazy WWE entrance. Like, Kelsier and the Steel Inquisitor were in a cage match. He killed the Inquisitor, like, this almost undefeated champion. And then, like, the entire arena's going nuts. And then you, like, hear the entrance music of the Lord Ruler as, like, a fucking carriage comes into the arena. Like, oh my god, JR! It's the Lord Ruler! And then, like, a couple other, like, weaker wrestlers show up, and then he's like not even paying attention to them as they're trying to beat the shit out. Like, someone hits him with the chair splitters, and he doesn't even matter. Walks up to Kelsier, the baddest dude, slaps him one time. Kelsier goes down like, oh, the Survivor is down, JR! And then just leaves. Like, this is, like, I know I'm making it sound more funny. Like, to me, it was like one of the most badass things I'd ever read. Like, this is so fucking cool. Also, my boy. Why would you do this to my boy? Like, I definitely felt sad. Like, first, like, I didn't cry or anything, but I felt genuinely shocked. And then after, I was like, oh my god, I didn't think they would do that. Well, I guess from a certain point of view, it makes sense. I was reading this from the perspective that Vin and Kelsier are both the protagonists. I feel like Vin does have more chapters, but, like, they are equal protagonists, but it is more of, no, Vin is the protagonist, Kelsier is the mentor. From that point of view, it makes perfect sense to kill him. You gotta kill the mentor. But I didn't think we were going to do that, at least not this early. It's like, okay, from the perspective of a standalone novel, it makes a lot of sense. But as part of a trilogy, I thought he was going to be around longer. Okay, you got me with that one, Sanderson. I wasn't expecting that to happen. But there is another twist that happens a few chapters later, because this is within, like, the last 100 pages or so. There was another twist, and this one I saw coming. It was the identity of the Lord Ruler. When you were reading those logbook entries, both at, like, the start of every chapter and in a few chapters, like, they really go into it. The idea is that this is the guy that became the Lord Ruler before the Ascension. And again, like, I find them super interesting. Like, this is not a dude with, like, all this confidence who seems like he's about to become a tyrant. It's someone who's really philosophical. There's a lot of questioning about, like, am I worthy of it? And it's like, how do I want people to view me? How should people view me? Blah, 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 blah. The scene, it's like the scene where he kills Kelsier, and I'm like, okay, he's really fucking hard to kill, so, like, he can probably heal quickly. Huh. That's interesting. Because, like, we've also heard stories about, like, how he was literally in a building set on fire, and then he just, like, walked out of it as a skeleton like the fucking Terminator. It's like, okay, like, he's really fucking hard to kill. The scene when Vin goes into the secret room, and she sees him as an old man. And then they come in, they still address him as the Lord Ruler, even though she's like, wait, he was a young dude earlier, what the fuck? That was the moment where I realized, oh, he was the Terraceman. Not Sazed, but, like, in that backstory, like, Rashik, I think it's Rashek, because I think there was only one E. It's like, that's him. That is who the Lord Ruler is, because I don't remember the name of what it's called. Like, it starts with an F, like Falcomy or something. I'm just going to call it Keeper Magic. Like, he's a keeper. Oh, so many things just fell into place. The reason the guy in the logbook seems so different from who the Lord Ruler actually is because they're different people. He kept talking about how Rashek, this guy that was traveling with him, seemed to hate him and, like, just despised him, and was like, my people should be in charge, we are superior. He killed you. And then he took over, and, like, that's why he presses the ska so much, because he hates them, because one of them was supposed to be the chosen one. It's like, why does he hate the Keeper so much? Because they have the same magic he does, and he doesn't want other people to know. He doesn't want other people to know his secret. That makes a lot of sense. The reason he can heal is because what Keepers can do is, like, essentially he can fuck up his body so that later he can have healing for it. The reason he's able to appear old and young is he has to look really old so he can look really young later. fuck, this makes so much sense. The reason he's always wearing jewelry, it's not this like, yeah, I'm wearing metal and there's allomancers, but I'm not fucking scared of them. It's because that's how keeper magic works. Holy shit. That is a really cool twist. I love this. Please tell me this is where it goes. And then it went there. I was like, yes, you did not pull that one on me, Sanders. And it's like, I love that shit. And it's like, that's why I say, usually it's really hard to surprise me and completely catch me off guard. Because I feel like a good story, a good storyteller can lay those seeds. I did not expect the shit with Kelsier coming, but I wasn't like, oh my god, why? This makes no sense. I was like, no, I can see why this happened. I was not expecting it. I will be completely honest about that. But within like a couple minutes, like, no. I get why this had to happen. It makes perfect sense. The Rashek twist is like, okay, I can see, like, I've been able to follow the trail of breadcrumbs. Now, granted, not until, like, this one specific scene very late in the novel, but I kind of feel like this is the moment that's supposed to make you go, wait a second. And then if you've been paying attention to, like, all this other shit throughout it, you can put it together before the characters do. Like, yes, I love that shit. Like, that is a well-done novel. That's a well-done twist. The other thing, kind of the last thing I want to say, I don't remember at what point I started to think this, but, no, okay, it was when they started talking about the Lord Ruler's secret room that he would frequently go into that Kelsier's been trying to break in. It's like, yeah, he'll go there every couple days, and no one knows what the fuck is in there. My theory at that point was, the Lord Ruler did not destroy the deepness. Whatever the fuck the deepness, it like sounds like some never-ending story shit. He did not destroy it. He was able to weaken it. He was able to defeat it. It might be like sealed away, but it's not gone. When they beat him at the end of the novel, because if this is like a standalone kind of novel, and they kind of have to, it's going, like, whatever he is doing to keep the deepness at bay is now not going to be in effect anymore. And in the next couple books, whether it's in book 2 or it doesn't show up till book 3, it is going to come back, whatever the fuck it is. It's going to be, as I was telling Clay, it's like, this is going to be some Gurren Lagann shit. Where it's like halfway through, you think Lord Genome is the problem. He's the one oppressing all the, are they just called humans? It's humans, gunmen, and beastmen. Yeah, that's like, blah, 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 blah. And he's like, you don't know why I do this. There's a good reason. And then you get to the second half, it's like, we reached 1 million apes. Fuck. But, that's my theory. Now, when we saw the room, we did not see anything that, to me, stood out as like, oh, this is the deepness. This is what he's doing. So I was wrong about it being in the room. However, right before he dies, he's like, yeah, you don't know what I'm doing for us. And not like, and I think Vin's even like, he didn't say what I've done or what I did. It's what I'm doing. Did we fuck up? Did we fuck up? I don't know. I was like, okay, so I feel like I am right about that. By destroying him, the deepness is going to run free, and then Vin will be the one. So maybe Vin is like the actual prophesized hero. I don't know. But, I guess that's kind of another thing I just want to touch on, because I meant to do it earlier and I just didn't. Fucking starting to get hot. Something I kind of kept wondering while reading the novel when it came to Vin, because like I said, I genuinely like Vin. I was like, is she too powerful, and is she getting too powerful too quickly? Like, is this like a Rey situation? And the more I thought about it, the more I kind of said, no. Because to me, as powerful as she is, again, like with the thing with allomancy, it's like, it's very clear that it's not omnipotent. There are very clear things that she can do and not do. And even then, like, it's like, okay, people aren't supposed to be able to do this, but we've seen other people do it first. So when Vin, for example, like, seeing metal through a copper cloud, she's been affected by magic through a copper cloud already. So now that she knows it's possible, she could do it. Pulling metal in someone's body, she's like, I've seen it happen, so I know it's possible. And I feel like all of her strength and badassery does not come at the expense of or in replacement of her depth or character development. She still develops as a character. I feel like there's still a lot of depth to her character. And there's her training in badassery. So, I think it works. I think it works quite well. Like I said, very excited to read part 2 when it comes in. Yeah, and when I'm done with that, I'll make a review. But, like, is it just as good as Final Empire? Is it a little bit better? Did I not like it as much? We will see. But, the prognosis is looking good, given how good the first book is. So, I'll see you then.